You've been going to the gym for weeks, maybe months, and your body still looks the same. Arms are soft, chest is flat, and every time you train, you think, why am I not seeing results? Now, it's not your fault. The fitness world is full of noise, random programs, fitness influencer workouts, and zero guidance for beginners who just want to build muscle that actually shows. I've been there, skinny, confused, wasting time in the gym. But once I learned how muscle building really works, things change fast. In this video, I'll show you the exact step-by-step strategy to build muscle quickly, even if you're starting from zero. And if you want to skip the guesswork, there's a free 90-day beginner workout plan linked down below to get you started right now. You ever walked into the gym thinking you crushed it, but a month later, your physique looks exactly the same? That's the frustration a lot of beginners face. They're showing up consistently. They're doing long workouts, sweating hard, chasing the burn, but when they check the mirror or step on the scale, nothing seems to be changing at all. Here's why. Most beginners don't actually understand what builds muscle. They think that effort equals results, that as long as they're tired and sore, the gains will come. But muscle growth isn't about how tired you feel. It's about whether or not your body has a reason to grow. And that reason, it's called progressive overload. The gym is full of people who are working hard but not working smart. They fall into two common traps. First, they get overwhelmed with information, bouncing between influencer workouts, random YouTube routines, or trendy TikTok circuits. Secondly, they mimic advanced lifters who've been training for years, not realizing that those routines are completely mismatched for beginners' recovery capacity. What ends up happening is months, sometimes years of doing the wrong things and wondering why the results never come. Muscle doesn't respond to randomness or noise. It responds to a clear, consistent signal that says you need to be stronger next time. No mystery, no magic, just stimulus, recovery, and adaptation. You lift weights to create stress. You eat and sleep to recover from that stress. And your body adapts by growing stronger and bigger, but only if that stress keeps increasing over time. Without progression, your body has no reason to change. For beginners, this is especially important. The first 6 to 12 months of training are when your body is most responsive to the so-called newbie gains window. During that phase, you can gain muscle faster than you ever will. But that only happens if your training is structured, your recovery is dialed in, and you're not just winging it. So if you're working out hard but seeing no change, the problem probably isn't your effort, it's your system. You don't need to train every day or exhaust yourself with random exercises. You need to track your lifts, rest more, and actually allow your body to grow. And above all, you need to stop relying on feel and start measuring real progress. Because if your training isn't building something week by week, then it's just movement, not muscle building. Be honest. How long have you been training without real results? Drop it in the comments below. No shame, you'll probably find a ton of others in the exact same spot as you. If you want a step-by-step plan that takes all of this guesswork out, from which exercises to do, how many sets, how to progress, even what muscles to prioritize, there's a free 90-day beginner workout program linked below. It's built to maximize gains in your first 3 months by focusing on the exact strategies I'm breaking down here. So if you're ready to stop winging it, grab it now and follow along while watching. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is thinking that complexity equals effectiveness. They look at Instagram workouts filled with supersets, cables, drop sets, and fancy machines and assume that must be what it takes to grow. But the truth is the opposite. Real muscle growth doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing the right things over and over and over. Study after study has shown that compound lifts activate more muscle and produce better gains than isolated and single joint movements. They recruit more muscle groups, load heavier weights, and respond best to progressive overload. When paired with proper protein intake and consistent progression, these lifts form the foundation of nearly every strong, muscular physique you've ever seen in real life. Unless they're not natty, of course. So instead of wasting time chasing variety or mimicking fitness influencers, beginners should focus all their energy on mastering 3 things: compound lifts, protein intake, and progressive overload. These are the levers that actually move the needle. When it comes to exercise selection, compound movements should be your foundation, such as squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, bench press, and overhead press. They're incredibly effective, allowing you to move heavier weight and stimulate more overall growth with fewer exercises. That said, isolation movements still have their place. Things like curls, lateral raises, and tricep extensions are valuable tools for targeting weaker areas and adding volume, especially once you've built your base. But as a beginner, you should focus on getting strong at compound movements first, and then layering in isolation work where needed. Progressive overload is the engine behind all muscle growth, but most beginners don't push themselves hard enough to make it work. That's because they don't know what true muscular failure actually feels like. So here's a simple fix that I would implement. Once you've learned proper form for each lift, spend a full week taking every working set to failure. It won't feel great, I'm gonna be so honest with you, but it will teach you exactly where your limit is. After that week, you'll have a much better sense of what 1 to 2 reps on failure actually really feels like. That's the effort zone where real growth actually happens. When you consistently train in that zone and aim to do a little more each week, more reps, more weight, tighter form, that's when progressive overload actually kicks in. If you build your training around compound lifts, eat enough protein, and push for small improvements every session, you will build muscle. It won't feel fancy and it won't look like what fitness influencers are posting, but it will work. And 3 months from now, your physique will prove it. If this has helped you simplify the muscle building process so far, hit that like button. It helps more beginners find real advice, not the flashy stuff that wastes time. Ask any beginner what they're eating to build muscle, and you'll usually hear something vague like, "Oh, I'm just eating more," or "I'm trying to bulk." But without a clear plan, that bulk either turns into fat or doesn't build anything at all. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of building muscle. People think that they can out-train a bad diet, and they obsess over training intensity without realizing that food is literally what builds your muscle tissue. And when beginners don't understand this, they usually fall into one of 2 camps. Either they overeat everything in sight and end up gaining fat alongside some muscle, or they undereat out of fear of getting fat and end up getting stalled, plateaued, and in some cases even losing size. Muscle growth isn't about stuffing your face or starving yourself, it's about control. A small, consistent calorie surplus paired with high protein and smart training that creates the perfect environment for lean gains. Research from the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition shows that beginners who consume just 250 to 500 calories above maintenance while hitting a solid protein goal gain significantly more lean mass with minimal fat. That is the sweet spot right there. Enough fuel to grow, but not so much that your body stores the extra as fat. The goal isn't to pack on 20 pounds in 8 weeks. The goal is to build lean mass gradually, around half a pound to a pound per week. And if your training is locked in, a good chunk of that will be muscle, especially during the first 3 to 6 months where your body is hyper responsive to everything. The way to approach this is strategic. First, you need to know your maintenance calories. That's the amount of food your body needs to stay the same weight. You can estimate this by multiplying your body weight in pounds by anywhere from 14 to 16, depending on your activity level. Once you've got that, add about 250 to 300 calories on top of that. That's your muscle building zone. Now, you've got to fuel that surplus with quality foods, not soda or candy or fast food. Those things spike your calories with little nutritional value and usually lead to fat gain. What you want instead are meals that are built around whole ingredients, things like rice, eggs, chicken, oats, beef, potatoes, nuts, cottage cheese. Simple food repeated daily. Protein intake is now the next priority. Muscle tissue is made from protein, and without enough of it, your recovery and growth suffer no matter how hard you train. Aim for 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight daily. Break it up across maybe 3 to 5 meals. That way, you're consistently feeding your body the building blocks it needs to grow. If you're someone who struggles with hitting your protein or staying in a surplus, comment meal prep and I'll reply with 2 to 3 simple meals that help me grow without getting fat. Finally, you have to track. Not obsessively, but with intention. Weigh yourself 3 times a week and take an average. If your weight's jumping too fast, say more than 2 pounds a week, you're eating way too much. If your weight's stuck, bump your calories slightly a little bit. Visual feedback matters too. Take photos every 2 weeks. You won't notice subtle changes day to day, but over weeks, the progress becomes obvious. When you start treating food like a tool instead of a guessing game, everything shifts. You'll recover faster, grow more consistently, and stay lean enough that you'll never need a harsh cut later. Motivation is a powerful thing, but it fades quickly if you don't see results. This is especially true for beginners. They start training full of energy and excitement, only to get discouraged a few weeks in when their body hasn't changed. The gym gets tiring. The soreness starts to feel pointless, and soon enough, they quit. That's why the first 3 months are everything. It's the window that either pulls you in for life or pushes you out with disappointment. But here's the good news. The beginner phase is when your body is most ready to transform. If you train properly, eat consistently, and recover well, you can make changes in 90 days that takes intermediates a year or more. This isn't just motivational fluff. It's backed by science. Brad Schofield, one of the top researchers on hypertrophy, has shown that beginners can gain 1 to 2 pounds of muscle per month in their first phase of proper training. But to actually use of this potential, you need a plan that's clear, simple, and focused on progression, not a novelty and not confusion. The 3-month blueprint is designed to do exactly that. It doesn't overload you with exercises. It doesn't rely on advanced techniques or complex periodization. It strips training down to what matters: learning proper form, tracking your numbers, and eating enough to grow, and adjusting only when necessary. In month 1, your only goal is to build a foundation. Learn to squat properly, bench with control, deadlift with a neutral spine, understand how to activate your back on rows, and how to use full range of motion on pull-ups. This month is about motor control, what good form looks and feels like, and how to show up consistently. You'll be training maybe 3 to 4 times per week with full body workouts or a simple upper-lower split. Don't go too hard yet. Leave a few reps in the tank and focus on execution. Once you learn how to train with proper form and execution, start training at the failure for about a week or so. Then, in month 2, it's time to start pushing progression. Now that you've built solid technique, you can begin adding weight or reps each week, usually in the range of 2 to 5 pounds on key lifts. But now, your intensity starts climbing, your nutrition gets locked in, you're eating in a surplus and hitting your protein target consistently. This is also when you can begin sprinkling a few isolation exercises for weak points like lateral raises, curls, or tricep extensions. By month 3, you're absolutely rolling. Now it's about refining, not reinventing. You're tracking progress photos, weighing yourself weekly, and making small adjustments as needed. If your lifts stall, you might implement a deload, a week of lighter training to recover before ramping intensity back up. This month is also when your physique really starts to change. Your arms may look fuller, your chest may pop a bit more, your strength feels solid, everything just clicks. Not because you found a secret, but because you stuck to the basics long enough to see the reward. Optional tools can help too. I personally recommend taking creatine monohydrate. Even a few mobility drills after workouts can keep your joints healthy as you push harder. But none of that matters if the foundation isn't there. The 3-month plan works not because it's flashy, but because it's sustainable. It gives you enough results to stay motivated and enough structure to actually improve. By the end of your third month, you'll not only look stronger, you'll feel like someone who's actually in control of their body for the first time. If you're still watching at this point, you're clearly serious about making progress, so consider subscribing so you don't fall back into the random content trap. Now, you've got the full strategy to build real muscle fast, even as a beginner. But knowing the strategy is one thing. Sticking to it, staying motivated, and pushing through those rough weeks, that's where most people fall off. That's why I've had to learn how to use my gaming addiction to help me get as jacked as I am today. It's the mindset shift that made training fun for me, like real life leveling up. And once you see fitness like that, consistency becomes so automatic. Click here to watch that next. And if you're serious about this journey, grab the free 90-day workout plan linked in the description. And if you follow it properly, your physique will change in 3 months tops. Comment below with your dream physique, and I'll help you reverse engineer the path to get there.